Okay.
Now you can hear me?
Yes,
Okay. Hi,
perfect.
Alan. Hi. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good too. Thank you very much. Um, okay, okay. Hi everyone. My name is Celine. I will briefly introduce what we're going to do today with Alan and who Clarusway is for those who don't know. So we're a training facility in the Washington, D.C. area, and we've been around since September 2019. There are more than 200 instructors and mentors in our facility, and more than 1,500 um, students, current students, around 39 countries. And these are some of the photos from our training facility in the Washington, D.C. area. As you can see, we did have some face-to-face classes. This one was before the pandemic, so most of our programs are now remote. So we have a career management team, and they do coaching services. We have instructors and mentors, more than 80 plus certified
Hi, Celine.
instructors. Oh,
Sorry for interrupting, but I
yeah,
think
that's
we
okay.
cannot
Yeah.
see the photos or the presentation. I think only
You
the loading.
um you cannot. Okay, let me just stop and share it again. Okay.
Hmm.
All
Okay,
right.
I think
So
no problem.
okay. What I was saying was our network of industry experts and alumni, and they do info sessions as well, and these kind of events. So uh, we've been um, we've been together with Course Report, Career Karma, Switch Up, and they gave us a lot of these kind of facilities, and companies ranked us one of the best boot camps of like 2021 to 2024 this year as well. So why us? Well, this should be a good enough reason for that. For our training model, we have a learning management system. So everything that you need is in that system. Your documents, your tutorials, quizzes, your calendar. So everything that you need during that period will be in that system. And all of our classes are live sessions and they're recorded, so you will have access to all of those as well. And of course, like I said before, we have mentoring sessions for the students who wants it. They're not mandatory, but we do suggest that you do take those mentoring sessions as well. We have an interview preparation time, which is after you graduate. So we help you out to get ready for that interview sessions with like behavioral and technical skills, of course. So we use Flipgrid application for that, where there are a lot of questions which are similar to your interview questions, and you record yourself basically, and your mentor watches it and gives you feedback about it. So you can also watch yourself to see what was the best part of it. And I think this helps a lot of our students to get ready for those interviews. For the fun learning process, we use Kahoot for the quizzes and games and everything. And we have a career management service. So we will help you out with your resume preparation, your LinkedIn profile. And like I said, we will do mock interviews. We will help you out with the technical interview sessions as well, and how we can do everything better for your future. So we do help IT beginners build six-figure careers in their future. So our programs are beginner friendly, AWS DevOps, full stack web development, full stack automation engineer, QA tester, data science, cybersecurity, Salesforce. These are some of our programs that we have, and they're all beginner friendly, and our mentors guide you through all of that process. And here, our expert instructors will guide you on GPT models and prompt engineering topics. So you will learn to create quality and effective prompts to tackle complex tasks. So you will create more advanced prompts and perform your tasks 2-3 times more advanced and faster and maybe more efficient. And for the successful completion of the course, you will receive a certificate verifying your proficiency in the prompt engineering. And last of all, if you have any questions, these are the platforms that you can reach us: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Slack. So you can reach us, or you can email us, or you can call us. So now I'm just going to leave the microphone to Alan, and good luck with rest of the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Celine. Thank you. Let me share my screen. Okay. First of all, let's test it. Can you see my screen?
I can.
Okay. And also you can hear me, so we can start. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Prompt Engineering Workshop. This is Alan. I'm a data science instructor in Clarusway. I'm teaching machine learning, deep learning, and NLP in data science bootcamp. And in the data science bootcamp, we have NLP path, as I said, and in the NLP part, we have also large language models. We are teaching technical, also the technical side, theoretical and practical parts of the LLMs. And today, we will learn the prompt engineering. We will see the fundamentals. I hope it will be a good beginning for your journey. So we will make an introduction. Let me show you, let's see, the roadmap. We have 3 parts. The first part, I will try to make an introduction, and I want to clarify a few terms about large language models and the prompt engineering. Before understanding prompt engineering, first of all, we should understand the position of prompt engineering in the artificial intelligence world. Okay, so the first part will be a soft part, introduction, and the second part, the fundamentals of prompt engineering, will be the core of this workshop. Okay, so we will understand what is prompt, what are the principles and the techniques in this prompt engineering. Of course, this regarding the time limitation, and we will see the basics and the fundamentals. I will show you examples, concrete scenarios. Okay, and the last part will be ChatGPT in action, let's say hands-on session. We have some common use cases. I will show you how can you use, let's say, ChatGPT in a more efficient way. Okay, so we have 3 parts, and today I will try to follow this, let's say, timeline. Okay, 45 minutes, then we will have a break, 10 minutes. Second 45 minutes, and then the second break as 10 minutes. So, of course, we can be flexible, but this is the roadmap roughly. Okay, so let's start with the introduction. Okay, before that, what is the promise of this workshop? Okay, uh, at uh, at the end of this workshop, I think you all will be able to answer these questions. So what's the deal with prompt engineering, right? I know that this is quite popular. It's a hype today. Everybody is talking about prompt engineering, but what's the story? What are the basics? And not only these simple questions, but also, okay, how can I use the prompt engineering? Why should I use it? What is the impact on my work? And can prompt engineering really enhance my work, project, reports, my daily life? And lastly, specifically, the prompt engineering is a technique, and you can use this technique in different platforms, in different models, right? And today, the most popular one is ChatGPT, of course, and we will use ChatGPT, and we will apply prompt engineering principles. Of course, you can apply these principles in Google Gemini, okay, Bart, Microsoft Copilot, okay. I will elaborate also this section, but at the end of this workshop, you will be able to answer all of these questions. Okay, so first of all, by the way, let me check the number of participants. So we are nearly 50. Okay, and according to our poll, yeah, 94% of the participants used ChatGPT before. Okay, this is what I expect, but before explaining the details of the prompt engineering, of course, I should know you. Okay. Okay, so I want to start with the definition of AI because I want to highlight a few things and I want to clarify a few terms about AI, prompt engineering, large language models. If you look at the definitions, you can see that this, just from IBM, AI is a simulation of human intelligence in machines. Okay, very broad definition. Another one from uh, Stanford University, the study of algorithms that allow computers to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. Another one from Microsoft, blah, 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 blah. But again, no, the systems capable of performing tasks that require human intelligence. So we can say that, we can summarize all of these definitions. With AI, we are trying to mimic human intelligence in machines, right? And I can list a lot of definitions, and you can see that these definitions are quite broad. However, if you look at the application examples in the industry, if you look at the models and AI-based applications, you will see that their intelligence is not broad as much as these definitions. Okay, so therefore we have two subcategory, let's say, subcategory in the AI conceptualization. What I mean is, in the AI, we have artificial general intelligence, AGI, and artificial narrow intelligence, ANI. So before this generative AI, large language models, and prompt engineering, by the way, don't worry, I will elaborate generative AI LLM part, but I think most of you know we have popular guys in the AI world as machine learning and deep learning. So I will call traditional AI models for the machine learning based deep learning based models. Okay, so those traditional AI models are a part of artificial narrow intelligence. Why? Because they can for example, predict the house prices. They can classify the images. For instance, they can even, detect cancer cells better than human experts, doctors. So their performance was amazing in specific tasks, but their their skills are single task specific or very limited. So they are part of ANI. Okay, but when we are talking AGI, artificial general intelligence, it's like human intelligence. Okay, it can play chess, it can read a book, it can solve a math problem. So not a single task or limited domain, but it can, for example, take image, text, audio, different data types as inputs. Okay, like human. So we can read, we can, talk, watch, right? We can hear. So today we are still far away from AGI, okay? And generative AI, large language models, they are not also AGI, okay? They are not AGI, but the generative AI, large language models, they are, let's say, a very important, significant step from ANI, narrow intelligence, to AGI. Okay, and we have very important differences between the traditional models and the generative AI models. Before that, I want to show these subfields of the AI. You can see we have machine learning, deep learning. They are quite popular. And also we have other subfields, expert system, robotics, computer vision, natural language processing. You can add a few ones. But today we will talk about prompt engineering, and you should understand the position of prompt engineering in the AI world. So prompt engineering uh, will be used with generative AI models. So generative AI is another subfield, let's say subset of AI, okay, artificial intelligence. It is not still AGI, as I said, but it is, let's say, closer uh, comparing to the traditional AI models, closer to the AGI, okay, comparing to the traditional models, okay? And in traditional models, for example, in machine learning, deep learning models, they can understand the data. I will try to simplify the whole concept of traditional AI models, okay? So they can understand the relationship between the inputs and the expected output. What does it mean? So we can train a machine learning model, for example, okay, to detect cat or dog. Okay. During the training process of these traditional models, you need to provide a data and input like image, and you need to say that expected output for that image, for that input is cat or dog. Okay. So most of the models, especially in the industry, you need to label the data and you need to teach the model to, let's say, the expected output. Or in other words, we can say that these models can understand the relationship between the inputs and the expected output. Okay, so they can understand the data basically. But in the generative AI, they are not just understanding or processing the information, but also generating it. Okay, so these machines, these generative AI-based models, actively can generate the content, and this content can be text or image, or I don't know if you are following the OpenAI, it can be really high qualified and impressive video. Okay, so different type of data. So they are not just understanding, but they can generate, they can create the content. Okay, and when we compare with the generative AI models, large language models, with the traditional ones, we can easily say that they are bigger. Okay, bigger in terms of data sets and their parameters. Parameters, you can think that when we have more parameters and bigger models, the computational cost will be expensive. Okay, therefore, for individuals and small, let's say, teams, small companies, it is not easy to, let's say, collect huge amount of data and train those models, because also you need really powerful machines. Okay, but these are the highlights, let's say, key points about generative AI. So as you see, large language models are a subset of generative AI, and prompting is not only about text, but most of the prompting is, let's say, they focus on text, and we also today the scope is text prompting, but we have also visual prompting. That's another story, okay? But under the generative AI, we have large language models, and we will apply prompt engineering, and we will, let's say, utilize these large language models to obtain more accurate, more qualified outputs. Okay. I will elaborate the connection between the prompt engineering and LLM more. But before going to the prompt engineering, I want to explain the LLM a bit more. Okay. So what are the features and the, let's say, characteristics of this LLM? So basically, large language models, they are AI-based models, but they are not the new, or let's say, not the only language model. Before the large language models, we had statistical models. They were not able to capture the semantic of the language, let's say, but they were also used in different tasks. Then we had neural network based models. And then we have pre-trained language models. In their time, they were big, but comparing with these large language models, they are quite small. So today, let's say you can think that as a step four, we have large language models, and these models are really huge in terms of their data sets and their parameters, and they can understand and generate the language. This is quite important. Uh, as I said, they were trained with big data, and this big data, I will give you a specific example for the GPT models, but for the moment, you can think that the data set is like whole internet. So we are, of course, the data should be publicly available, or they can also collect some private, no, let's say, private data collection process can be, of course, valid. But the data set in the, let's say, step three, when we had pre-trained language models, maybe we were only using Wikipedia, okay? But today, the whole internet can be a potential data set of these models. We have an very good advantage with these models. I said that it's very hard to, train these models if you are just individuals, or a small team, small company, startup. Therefore, the big giant technology companies, the Google, Amazon, Meta, OpenAI, Microsoft, they are the leader of this field. But we have also advantage because when they are trained, when these models are trained with the, let's say, general data, they can really understand and generate the language. But for specific tasks, especially for the complex ones, or if the task is niche, then we need to specialize them. So you can think these large language models are like a bachelor student, okay? So it is good. Let's say these models can really read the books, articles, and understand it. But if you want to teach that model in a specific task, you need to specialize it with fine tuning. And the fine tuning process, don't worry about the terms. I will not go to technical details, but just know that we can also use uh, these models, and we can fine tune them. We can specialize them for a specific task or complex task. That these fine tuning is not a part of prompt engineering, okay? What important feature of the large language models. And another important difference between the traditional AI models and these large language models is unsupervised learning. What does it mean? We have different learning types, okay? And maybe I don't know if you are familiar with these learning types, but if you look at the industry, if you look at the applications, you will see that most of the applications are supervised learning. That means during the training of the models, you need to provide labeled data. So you need to say that this image is a cat, this one is car, okay, for the image classification. And this labeling is quite time consuming, usually expensive, and especially when you require expertise to label the data, it's really expensive. Okay, but in the large language models, uh, uh, we don't have to label whole data set. Also, it's impossible to label whole internet, right? But you can use a whole internet, billions of words as a data set, and you don't have to label it. So I will not go to the technical details. Okay, we have some self-supervised learning mechanism behind the model, but just know that you should know that we can we can use huge amount of data, and we don't have to label them. This is a very important advantage. And today we have advanced LLMs. Yes, they are language models, but today With the advanced LLMs, we have multimodal capabilities. That means we can use text and we can generate text, but also we have text to image, text to video, or image to text. So we have multimodal capabilities with LLMs. Application fields are diverse. We have different scenarios because when you understand the language and you generate the language, you can use these models in different scenarios, different use cases. Understanding, text generation, content creation, question answering. Today, I think most of the chatbots, let's say customer services, or the first layer of the customer services are based on the AI-based chatbots, and LLMs are really good in this conversational AI. I will give you a few specific examples. Language translation, sentiment analysis, style transfer, language tutoring, grammar correction. So we can use these LLMs in different scenarios. Text summarization is quite popular, right? If you just need to understand, let's say, if you don't want to spend so much time to read an article, whole article, but you can just get a summary of the article by these models, right? And they are really good at in this type of tasks, these type of simple tasks. And for example, in ChatGPT, you can just say that summarize the input with 2 sentences, and in seconds, you can get a really good summary, right? And another example, text generation, and you can say that, by the way, I forgot to say, uh, at the end of the workshop, we will have a QA session, but during this workshop, you can, of course, use this QA channel, okay, in the just next to the chat, Zoom chat, you can use QA channel, you can ask your questions. And regarding the time, I will try to pick the most important ones. And at the end, we can also, we will have a QA session so we can try to answer your questions. Uh, Let me check also the QA part. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. These examples, all of these examples are generated by ChatGPT. Okay. Uh, you can see the OpenAI logo. If you used ChatGPT before, you will remember these UI components. So I generated all of these examples with ChatGPT, and we can say that generate a paragraph by using the following keywords: history, milestone, Messi, drone, Instagram. Uh, it is not easy task for human, right? We just based on these 5 keywords, writing something like that in seconds, of course, it's not possible, right? In 1 or 2 seconds, it's not possible. So, but this is a very simple task for LLMs. Another one, language translation. I just used the first sentence of this text here as input, and I said that translate the following sentences into the most common 5 languages. I didn't specify the most 5 common languages, but as you see here, we have 5 different translations. But you can see a problem here, especially, so we have problem in the input and the output. So input is not really clear, right? There is an ambiguity. Most common 5 languages in the world, in the Europe, maybe in Europe, maybe we need to specify it here, right? And these are not the most common languages in the world. And when I say, are they the most common languages? Yeah, apologies for the confusion. And then now Chinese, of course, and Arabic, and of course English, right? They are the most common ones. And you can check the translations. I checked a few of them with Google Translate, and they are really good. So uh, also, I will show you a few benchmarking studies, let's say comparative studies about the, let's say, uh, performance of these models in different tasks, and they are really good. Okay, but uh, the LLMs, they are not only, let's say, we are not only using these models for generation, summarizing the text, etc. But you can also generate a Python code or any other programming language, okay? Because in the data sets of these models, especially ChatGPT, they used GitHub repositories. So in the GitHub is just, you can think that we have a website. This website contains um, publicly available repositories. So in the repositories, you can find Python codes, Java, C Sharp, JavaScript, different programming languages, and it's a huge data set for the model. And you can say that generate a Python code which plots two leads. So it's very simple, but uh, if you are, let's say, a developer, if you are developing something, especially, let's say, this type of simple functions, unit functions, can be easily generated, and these are really perfect. You can even generate a whole, website, HTML, CSS, you know, uh, or for different, you can, for example, generate an SQL, database queries. Again, these LLMs are really good at in this type of task. Of course, they are not perfect. We will come to that point. Still, there are some potential issues about the quality of the outputs, but especially for the simple tasks and with the recent developments, for example, you know, when they released the ChatGPT, we had uh, GPT-3, GPT 3.5, but today we have GPT-4, and its performance is really impressive. So you can translate the codes. For example, you can give Python code as input, and you can say that just translate this code into R, okay, from Kotlin to Java. So different code translations are possible. You can even use the ChatGPT for debugging, fixing the bug in your code, or the documentation of the code. One of the most boring part of the software development lifecycle, right? And but this is very important because after the deployment, for the maintenance, for the customer issues, or for the updates, you need this documentation, and you can use just the code as input, and then you can uh, create really good specifications, documentation for your code. Okay, but we don't have only ChatGPT, right? Or we don't have only ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, Google Gemini, right? Actually, we have a lot of LLMs. So this diagram is just from nearly, 1 year ago, okay, March 2023. And as you see here, we have different models. These are all language models, GPT-3 here, okay? And we have, for example, Lambda, Palm from Google, Llama from Meta. Okay, so we have different models in the LLM world, very popular ones like Chinchilla or Claude. And you can see their sizes are different. For example, GPT-3 has 175 billions of parameters, right? It's really huge. Comparing to the previous version, you can see GPT-1, GPT-2, GPT-2 is just 1.5 billion. So more than 100 times. In their time, in 2018, when the Google AI team introduced the BERT model, that BERT model was a really big one with 340 million parameters. But today, of course, it is not categorized as large language models. Okay. Today, when we say large language models, we are talking about billions, even trillions. And after nearly 1 year, okay, just this month in February, from the same source, lifearchitect.ai.com, you can see now we have GPT-4 with 1.76 trillion. Uh, Palm 2, you can see billions, trillions. Gemini, the ultra version of the Gemini, 1.5 trillion. So we have really large models, but Also, and the researchers are trying to, let's say, reduce the number of parameters because, as I said, these are really in terms of computational cost, they are really expensive. Okay. And instead of using trillions, billions of parameters, or let's say 300, 500, or trillions of parameters, for example, we have Mistral. Okay, it's 7 billion parameters. It is also a kind of large language models. Okay, they are categorized as, you know, even X small, not small, but their performance can be even better than these huge, these large language models in specific tasks. Okay, but today I can easily say that if you look at the leaderboards, GPT-4 is the best one. Okay, in different categories, uh, the font, let's say, with fine tuning, you can have really good models in a specific task. For example, for Python code generation, you can, fine tune your model. You can use additional Python data sets, and then you can have really good models. But in general, we can say that GPT-4, naturally, the ChatGPT is really good. And also, we have very important, let's say, evaluation criteria as the hallucination score. Okay, and the hallucination is in the context of large language models. You can even experience with the interactions with the ChatGPT. The outputs sometimes the outputs may be incorrect, irrelevant. No, maybe they are not real, right? So we cannot count on the outputs of the LLMs. So they can be sometimes incorrect, right? So the incorrect, these irrelevant, let's say, outputs, they are called as hallucination in the context of LLMs. Okay, and again, in the hallucination category, still GPT-4 is the leader. Okay. Also here, I want to just highlight one thing. Don't try to read every name of the models. They are also large language models. You can see GPT-1, GPT-2. In 5 years, we have a lot of models, and all of them are not here, but we have some open source models and some closed source models. For example, Google Bard, GPT, Jurassic, Claude, they are closed ones, but we have Llama from Meta, okay, as open source models. So we have also open source models. They are very important especially for the open source community. But I say the most advanced ones from the giant technology companies, they are also closed, okay? And we don't know each technical detail about GPT-4. We don't know each data point. We have some idea according to their declarations, okay? For example, OpenAI announced that GPT models in their data sets, they used, Wikipedia, Google Books, GitHub repositories, New York Times. Today, there is a legal issue between New York Times and OpenAI, WordPress, Google Patents, and more and more. So we can say that simply whole internet. Okay. So the data set is really huge. But for example, in the BERT, in 2018, they used only Wikipedia and one additional source. Okay. So of course, today the data sets are really big. Okay, I want to show a few figures to highlight a few points about the models, and then we can make a break. Okay. In this diagram, uh, I want to highlight that if you look at the exams, if you look at these axes, you can see we have different categories. Okay, history, the biology, GRE writing, statistics, physics, uniform bar exam. So the GPT-4 is, let's say, in different categories, GPT-4 has really good scores, reasonable scores. So this is not only about understanding simple text or summarization, but in different categories, these models are let's say GPT-4 is really good. So that's an important difference between the traditional AI models and these, let's say, the most sophisticated, let's say, most advanced LLMs. Okay, they can be used in multiple tasks, and we don't have to be, we don't have to be limited into just one domain. Okay, in different domains, in different tasks, we can use these models. Also, not only in English, and GPT-4's performance in other languages like, maybe Italian, Spanish, French, they are the European languages, but Russian, Polish, Arabic, Turkish, Japanese, you can see the really good results. And today, even better, okay? Uh, you can get even better results with GPT-4. So these models are not only specific, let's say limited to English, okay? Of course, but again, you can use a large language model, you can fine-tune it for a specific language, and then the fine-tuned form of this model can be even better in specific language. Okay. Okay. I think that is enough before understanding prompt engineering. So I'll try to clarify AI, generative AI, LLM, and the difference between this part of the AI world, between the traditional part of the AI world. Okay. And now I will make a very soft introduction to here. Then we can, in 3 minutes, we can make a break. Okay. Let me check also the questions. Okay, perfect. Also, at the end of the second part, okay, when we complete these fundamentals of prompt engineering, I have a surprise for you. Okay. So then, yeah, what is prompt? Simply, we can say that the prompt is an input to LLM, large language model. If you look at the dictionary, uh, you can see that the prompt is defined as an instruction given to an AI, actually generative AI models, by a human using natural language. Okay, so natural language is a keyword here. So the natural language, the text, uh, it will describe the task, and then this LLM will perform the task, right, according to our prompt. Uh, Here, let me give you a specific, concrete example. Okay, as you see, a screenshot from ChatGPT, if you remember this example, text generation. So here, this part is my input, right? And it's a prompt. And the output of the LLM is a completion. But now I want to show you the scenario in the, let's say, conceptual input-output relationship between in the traditional AI models. If we have machine learning or deep learning model, let's assume that we have a sentiment classification model. So with sentiment classification, I mean you can have product reviews, okay, in your data. You want to, let's say, classify the product review text according to their sentiment. And to simplify the problem, we can say that we have only two sentiments, okay, positive and negative. So binary classification model. You can use machine learning or deep learning. It doesn't matter for this example. But the input, so after the training of the model, you will train the model with the text and their sentiments, with the labels, okay? After the training, when you completed the training, you can use these models to predict the sentiment of the completely unseen new product review, okay? And for example, this one is our product review. I absolutely love this product. It exceeded my expectations in every way. So what is the sentiment of this text? Positive, right? It's obvious. It's quite positive. So the output is always 1 or 0 for the traditional models. You can change the text, you can say anything in the input. It should be text, okay? And the model always return 1 or 0. So without touching the model, in other words, without changing the training data set or without changing the configuration of the model, you cannot change the response. Okay. If you are only changing the input, you cannot change, you cannot change the type of the response. It can be only 1 or 0. Okay. But in large language models, for the same example, for the same scenario, your input, your prompt will be something like that. Classify the following text as positive or negative according to its sentiment and only provide the class. And the input, the same input, I absolutely love this product. It exceeded my expectations in every way. So this will be your prompt and the completion will be positive or negative, and in this case, positive. So in this scenario, if you change the prompt, you can change the content, or let's say the value of the completion, or the whole form, the structure of the completion. What does it mean? Again, you can use the same input, same product review text. Okay, I absolutely love this product part. But you can change the prompt. You can say that use the following input and provide 5 different versions of it while keeping the same sentiment. You can also add additional information, some context, like while doing this, respond like an English teacher and use formal language. Input is the same, and you can add also output uh, into the prompt. Okay, you can say that output 1. So there will be 5 different versions of the input, right? So basically, this is data augmentation, okay, text data augmentation with LLM, and the output will be 5 different versions of the input, as you see in the screen. So you are not changing the training data, you are not touching the model, you are not changing the configuration of the model, but you are just changing the prompt, and then you can perform different tasks. So that is the key difference between the traditional AI models and the LLMs. Okay, so prompt is not just an input. So prompt is a guided input. It's a guided text which contains instruction, context usually, and input, and some other components. Okay. Okay, let's stop here. So 53. I think we can make a break. Okay. And also I can check the questions if you have in the break time. So 54. So let's make a break, 10 minutes. Okay. Then we can continue after the break. Okay. So see you in 10 minutes. Hello, guys. Can you see my screen? Okay, I think yes. And also, I see a very good question from Vikas in the context of open closed source of LLM. What are the differences for us while using different vendors as ChatGPT, OpenAI, Microsoft, Google, etc.? Yeah, first of all, I should highlight that today we will learn the prompt engineering principles, right? And these principles are valid for all models, okay? For all, open, closed, it doesn't matter, because uh, you can even develop your own application, and behind the application, you can use, for example, OpenAI API, okay? The closed LLM, right? OpenAI models are closed, GPT-4, for example, right? Or you can use open source model, for example, Llama from Meta. You can fine tune for your problem, for your project. And then again, you can use this fine tuned open source model inside your application, right? In these two scenarios, again, there will be a prompt, there will be a user, for example, and then you will use user's query, right? and you will, let's say, frame a prompt uh, based on this input or based on the input or based on the user's query. And this prompt will be sent to the LLM, right? LLM can be open or closed, it doesn't matter. The principles, the techniques, I will show a few examples of the principles. They are valid for all, okay? So again, you can use ChatGPT, the interface, user interface. You can use GPT-4, API. Again, the same. While creating your prompt, you should consider all of these prompt engineering principles. Okay, or you can use open source model. Of course, when I say open source, you need to have some technical background, okay? Because it's not too hard, but at least you should be familiar with the basics of Python, for example. Then with less than, let's say, 50 lines of code, you can even fine tune an open source model, and then you can, let's say, fine tune a model for a chatbot task. Okay. But the prompt engineering principles are still valid for all. Okay. So, uh, as you see in my screen, I wrote the prompts components. So basically, we know that prompt is a guided input to the LLM. Okay. And the LLM will use this prompt to generate the completion. So completion is the output, right? Of course, today we will not go to the technical details of the models, architecture, the working mechanism, but I want to say a few words without, let's say, going too much deeper. All of the LLMs, not all of them, but nearly all of the LLMs are transformer architecture based models. Okay, so transformer architecture was introduced in 2017 with a very famous paper. The attention is all you need. After 1 year, we have the BERT, and then we have other models, GPT-2, and I showed a few. I showed different language models. So in the family of LLMs, their architecture is transformer architecture. Okay. And when you provide a prompt, the model use your prompt, and simply we can say that the model is trying to, let's say, predict the next word based on each previous word. Or in other words, we can say based on your prompt, the model, thanks to the, let's say, thanks to its architecture, it's trying to complete your input, your prompt. Okay. So I want to say that now I will show you a few components like instruction, context, etc. But actually, a prompt is just a piece of text for the model. Okay. And for this text, model is trying to generate the most relevant output. Okay. But it doesn't know anything about the instruction, the context. Okay. And there are different namings. You can see if you search for the components, there are different namings, there are different frameworks. But first of all, let's look at these components, and then I will show you a few more frames. Okay. So in prompt, we need to say you can just say hello to the ChatGPT, right? So it's an also prompt. You can say what is 2 plus 2? This is also prompt, right? But for a bit more advanced tasks, or let's say for general, let's say, tasks, your prompt should be clear and should contain these components. It doesn't have to. Okay, let's say the prompt doesn't have to have all of these components, but it is highly recommended. Okay, you can think that it's not a mandatory, but when you add these components to your prompt will generate better outputs in terms of accuracy, quality, and more relevant outputs. So let me give you an example here. So we said that use the following input and provide 5 different versions of it while keeping the same sentiment. So in this is our prompt, right? The whole text, this text is our prompt. And the first part obviously is the instruction. Okay. So instruction, you can think that this is a like an imperative statement that tells the model what to do, or or we can say it's a specific task, or we can say it's a main objective. Okay. Use the following input and provide 5 different versions of it while keeping the same sentiment. So main objective. And also the context is like additional information or background, contextual information to lead the prompt into the specific direction. If you look at our example, I'm saying while doing this, respond like an English teacher and use formal language, right? So I'm leading this prompt into specific direction, to formal language. So that part is the context. Okay. And input is obvious. I annotated the input. I absolutely love this product. It exceeded my expectation. This part is the input. In different sources, you can see different namings. Instead of input, you can see user's query. Okay. According to scenario, the name of the components can be different. But the idea is we are trying to provide clear or precise instructions, or prompts to the LLMs. Okay. And another component, output indicator. Again, this is not a mandatory component, and in each scenario, maybe you can have different components. You can apply different frames. Okay. But the idea is if you also, let's say, provide format of the output, or let's say cue about the output, then your outputs, let's say the completions will be better, okay, more accurate or more relevant. The first part, instruction, context, input, output. As I said, for example, we can have role task format. This can be a frame of the prompt, okay? Again, LLM doesn't know the meaning. Let's say this is the conceptual framing for us. The whole idea is we need to provide a clear instructions. These instructions should be also precise, okay? And uh, with prompting, instead of just, let's say, instead of using input, uh, let's say, or without adding these components, when you generate a prompt, when you create a prompt, sorry, then the quality of the outputs will not be very good. Okay. But these frameworks will enhance the quality of the output. There is no guarantee for the perfect output, for the optimal one, but these are helpful frameworks. For example, you can add action, the purpose, and the expectation, or context, objective, action, scenario, task. Let me give you 2 examples for this one. For the first one, you can create this prompt. Okay. Act as a professional presentation expert and a computer scientist. So act as a blah, blah, blah. So the first part is the role, right? This part is uh, role, the first part. And the second part, design a draft presentation of introduction to computer science. So the second part is the task, right? And the last part, and use bullet points instead of full sentences in slides. We also add the format, the expected as a format of the output. So this can be a good framework, okay? Role task format. Or, sorry, another example is the last one, the context, action, result, and example. So you can say, okay, our tester team has a communication problem. So you are giving some additional information. And the keywords, the clarity of the prompt is they're vital for the LLMs. Okay, so our tester team has a communication problem, and can you suggest practical tips for the team to establish an efficient and qualified communication? This part is the action. Okay, what is the action, expected action from the LLM? And then result. So we aim to have a checklist, rules, principles, etc. And the last part here, you can give an example. One good example can be use chat programs for urgent issues with a predetermined tag. Okay, so uh, adding an example, clearly specifying the format, okay, expected format, and adding additional information, context, or giving a role. These are all helpful uh, for LLMs to find, let's say, or to generate the most relevant output. Okay, we don't, let's say, we want to have the most relevant outputs from LLMs in an efficient way, right? So with these frameworks, we can have better outputs in an efficient way instead of spending so much time and even having, let's say, worse outputs. Sorry, just need to drink a water. Okay, so if you look at this example, how can I draw a scatter plot in Python? This is a prompt. As you see, we don't have context, role. So these are not the mandatory components, okay? But we want to enhance the guided input, the prompt. And instead of saying this one, how can I draw a scatter plot? If I don't want to see the explanations, if I just want to see the code, okay, without having additional text, but if I just want to have the Python code, I should say only provide the code and don't explain. Actually, don't explain uh, can be a bit problem, okay? But for the moment, just focus on the, let's say, just forget about the negative statement, but we are adding a context, okay? We are adding, sorry, additional information. We are adding, let's say, or restricting the, limiting the output of the LLM, okay? And also we can add a context, like answer the questions as if you are 7 years old. Okay, you can say anything, right? Maybe you are a beginner in Python and you just want to have the, say, more readable and clear code blocks. Okay, instead of advanced code blocks, you just want to have functional, understandable, and readable code blocks. You can add also output, like output indicator, like output queue, right? You can say, you can give your maybe lists, okay? And you can give your inputs in Python code. Then based on these actual inputs, the output of the LLM can be there. And it can be more relevant for you, okay? So now, okay, I just try to clarify what is a prompt, what are the components, what are the some frameworks, okay, to have better prompts. But what is prompt engineering? So you can estimate, but let me show you a few definitions. Developing and optimizing prompts to efficiently use language models, right? Or processing of structuring text, or process of structuring input text for LLMs, and to optimizing the efficacy of LLMs, okay? Or a cutting edge of approach, providing a more efficient and cost-effective means of using LLMs. So with prompts, with prompt engineering, sorry, we want to optimize the actually the output and also the process. We have other definitions. So I want to have more accurate, more relevant, so more qualified output, right? And also the whole process of prompt engineering is an iterative process. Okay, so uh, you will try, and iteratively you will find the optimal prompt. Then you can use that optimal prompt regularly, or I don't know, like according to different scenario, it can change. But let's assume that uh, you have a task like reporting, week reporting something weekly. Okay, you can create your prompt. Then in each week, you don't have to spend so much time from the beginning. Maybe you can just update according to different scenarios. You can change a few things, but this process, finding the optimal uh, prompt, is an iterative process. Okay. And I like this definition. So practice of designing inputs for generative AI tools like LLMs that will produce optimal outputs. Okay. So optimal can be different according to different scenario. Okay. Maybe for your case, you want to have just a piece of code without explanation, or for other scenarios, maybe you need additional text. You need some information in addition to your Python code. Okay, so before going to the principles, prompt engineering principles, I want to highlight these three points. Again, this is an iterative process. So try, and then find the best, find the optimal prompt. Okay. And again, after finding the best prompt, like in the example of reporting, or maybe you want to summarize some finance report. Okay, your task in each week, you will need to summarize a finance report. Then you can use prompt engineering, you can use LLMs. When you have an optimal prompt after an iterative process, you can just use that prompt weekly, right? It will be quite productive for you. And the second part, let's say second point, is these models, these LLMs like GPT models, they are stochastic models. That means here the randomness is present in these models. Even if you use the same input, model can generate different completions outputs. Of course, this depends on the prompt. Again, if the input, if the question, let's say if the prompt is too straightforward, like what is 2 plus 2, then yes, you will get 4, right? But if the prompt is something like polish the language, rephrase it, then in each case, even if the prompt is the same, okay, the whole prompt is the same, if the prompt is about polishing the language, paraphrasing, then you will probably have different outputs. We have some hyperparameters to configure the creativity of the models, okay? Like temperature, top speed, these are not scope of this workshop, okay? They are part of advanced prompt engineering, but you can change, let's say, the configuration of the model by changing this hyperparameter to make the model more creative, or you can just, uh, reduce, even eliminate the creativity, okay, to get the most expected output for your prompts. But because of the stochastic structure of the models, again, don't forget that for the same prompt, you can get different completions, okay? And in this workshop, we will talk about the ChatGPT, right? Or it is same for the Microsoft Copilot. So they are applications, they provide a user interface for us, right? And with this user interface, our interaction is a conversation. Okay. The last point is, don't forget that these applications, they remembers the previous dialogue, right? So that is an iterative process, and you don't have to provide all information in each prompt, right? So they have some conversation history mechanism. They are not perfect, by the way, but good. Okay. So for complex dialogues and tasks, instead of giving whole story at the beginning with just one prompt, you can go step by step. You can start with simple prompts, okay? Then you can, let's say, in the following steps of the conversation, you can come to the point, okay? Again, in the advanced prompt engineering, we have some techniques like chain of thought, tree of thought, different techniques. It's very popular in the prompt engineering world. So idea is simple, actually. I can just say that you are dividing the prompt, let's say, into sub prompts that are connected, let's say, sequentially, okay? And instead of, again, giving the whole prompt in a more complex way, when you divide it, and when you just connect it, sequentially, then for some complex task, we can have better outputs. Okay. So again, don't forget that this is an iterative process. Models are stochastic, and when you use the applications, they are the interaction is a conversation. Okay. So we can benefit from this. So why prompt engineering? Yeah, to improve the safety and the capacity of LLMs. Even if the model is the most advanced model, if your prompt is not clear enough, the outputs, maybe, the quality of the outputs or relevance can be, worse. I should say that comparing with the, let's say, uh, let's say 1 year ago, okay, or let's say it's the first, yeah, let's say the first version of the, for example, ChatGPT, the safety and some, let's say, some harmful, maybe toxic outputs can be there. Okay, but today GPT-4 is really good to prevent the, let's say, harmful, some problematic, some toxic outputs. But still, if you are using open source model, if they are not really, so they are not really still robust against these problems like GPT-4. Okay, so with prompt engineering, you can improve the safety. You can prevent the potential problems like generating harmful content. You can obtain more relevant and high quality responses, of course, design robust and effective prompting. Yeah, this is quite important. You can have more control over the output, and you can mitigate the biases. What does it mean? I will show you an example. Okay, let's think together, okay? And try to answer the questions like you are an LLM. You are an LLM, okay? So the input is, this is an input, no, let's say my prompt, okay, for the ChatGPT. The doctor yelled at the nurse because she was late, and who was late? What's your answer for this one? Just think that. Nurse or doctor? So the doctor yelled at the nurse, right? Then naturally we can think that nurse was late. She was late. Then who was late? The answer is nurse, right? Because yeah, this is not really, 100%, but because doctor yelled at nurse, I can say nurse was late, right? And ChatGPT told the same. The nurse was late according to the sentences. Then I changed my prompt and I said the nurse yelled at the doctor because she was late. So I just, swap this doctor and nurse, right? And other parts are same. So then the answer should be doctor, right? If this one is nurse, then when I changed that one, the nurse yelled at the doctor because she was late. Who was late? The answer should be doctor. However, the ChatGPT said in this sentence, it's implied that nurse was late. Why? Because of this part, she. Okay, because the ChatGPT thought that if she was late, she must be the nurse. Okay. And the second, another example. Now, this is exactly the same with the first one and the first part, but instead of she, I said he. Okay. The doctor yelled at the nurse because he was late. Who was late? Again, in this sentence, it's implied that doctor was late because he. If I just swap the nurse and doctor with he, okay, the nurse yelled at the doctor because he was late. Who was late? In this sentence, it's implied that doctor was late. So this is just a very simple example. Of course, no, at the beginning of the let's say ChatGPT conversations, we had more biases, more problems. Today they are better, but still don't forget that these models like ChatGPT or other popular models, they use publicly available data, okay, right? They use general data, and the internet is full of biases, right? And if you check also not only for the LLMs, okay, for all AI models. For example, we know that for face recognition applications, the deep learning models are better with white male comparing with the black women, okay? Because the training data set has more white male, okay? So there can be different problems like fairness problems, and that is another story. But with prompt engineering, also we can, let's say, reduce the potential problems, okay? Minimize the potential risks, okay? Okay, so good. We can start with principles. And also let me check the questions before this part. Also, thank you, Johnson. You are answering the questions in the chat. Uh, Again, from Vikas, how to know which LLM is open or closed source based? Please differentiate with some of the available options. Actually, it's very simple. You can just check their website or any in the you can just even Google it. It's they are for example in the diagrams, uh, let's say yeah, in the diagrams, nearly half of them are open, okay, or 40% of them are open. But I can say that the most advanced ones from Google, from OpenAI, they are not open, like Google Gemini or the ChatGPT, GPT-4, they are not open. But in the open source family, we so if you are, let's say, interested in the open source models, again, you need to have a bit, let's say, some background to use these models, like some Python background, okay, maybe a bit NLP part, okay, because open source models are not, let's say, available like the ChatGPT with user interface, no, with the application, but you can download it, for example, Llama. Okay, we have a platform like GitHub. The name of the platform is Hugging Face. Okay, it's fantastic platform. You can find thousands of open source models in there. Okay, for specific task, you can find fine-tuned open source models, and then you can use them for your task, for your problem. Okay, so Hugging Face. You can check the Hugging Face for the open source models. For the closed source models like Google Gemini and OpenAI models, they provide APIs. Okay. Again, if you are developing some applications, you can use their APIs or their playgrounds or UI and application UIs. Okay. Today we will use ChatGPT user interface. Okay. But also OpenAI provides playground, like also Google Gemini, they provides playgrounds. And in our advanced prompting course, we will have specific sessions for playgrounds and both for GPT models and also for Google Gemini. Okay, but today we will see that just the ChatGPT user interface. Okay, let's start with the principles. The first principle is, again, try to include all components. But this is not mandatory. Okay, and let's say uh, the components like instruction context, they don't have to be there, but if you include them, you will have more chance to get more relevant outputs. Okay, so again, instead of saying summarize this blah blah blah, you can add some text. Okay, a paragraph here. Instead of saying just summarize this, you can give a more clear instruction. You can with these components, you can say you are a high school teacher. Your explanations should be clear and understandable by high school students. Okay, this is context. By the way, you don't have to say this is context, but you can add. Okay, adding this structure can be helpful, but this is not again. This is not a mandatory or not required elements. Let's say you can say instruction summarize the text into a short paragraph, right? Instead of saying just summarize this, you can add short. Even short is a there is an ambiguity here. You can also say just into 3 sentences, 5 sentences, 5 bullet points, etc. Okay, and the text is the input here. So instead of saying example 1, we should prefer example 2. Okay. And the question from Jan, where can I read the slides again? At the end of the workshop, we will share the slides with you. Okay, with the presentation will be shared, I think, by emails. Okay, the second principle is start simple. So in the AI world, simplicity is critical. Okay, so we can say simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, right? And in traditional models and also in these models in the prompt engineering, starting simple and trying and simple, clear, understandable instructions are crucial. Okay, so this example, the first one, can you list the states of USA? Let's start with T. This is also, they are all generated by ChatGPT. And as you see, the output is not correct, right? Because we have Utah here. So so instead of, let's say, including 2 tasks. So here we have 2 tasks, listing this, finding and listing the states of USA, and then filtering them according to this criteria. Start with T, right? So instead of saying this, if you say, can you list all states of USA? And don't forget that this is a conversation and iterative process. So if you say, can you list all states of USA? Then it will list all of the states, 50 states. Then you can say, just list or just filter the ones start with T. Okay. So you can divide the tasks into 2 parts. Okay. Uh, so again, this is an iterative process, it's a conversation, and you can start with a simple context and simple, let's say, instructions. Maybe the most important one, be precise and provide clear instructions. So I like this, let's say, explanation from OpenAI website. The less the model has to guess at what you want, the more likely you will get it. Okay. So if your instructions are not clear, if there is too much ambiguity, then the output quality will not be what you expect. Okay, so include details in your query to get more relevant answers. How? Instead of saying, how do I add numbers in Excel, you should provide a precise and clear instructions, right? As you see, the better one. How do I add up a raw dollar amounts in Excel, blah, blah, automatically, you know, or the second example, of course, the who is president, where, when, right? These information is missing in the first one, but the better one is who was the president of Mexico in 2021, where and let's say where and when these are available, right? And for this type of simple questions, of course, as you see here, uh, we are not adding some context, but this is just a user's query. But again, even if you used one component, it should be precise and the instructions, everything should be clear. Okay. And so to be precise and to provide clear instructions, another tactic is use delimiters to clearly indicate the distinct parts of the input. What does it mean? Just ignore this system user, okay? Think that this piece of text is a whole prompt, okay? So you will be provided with a pair of articles, okay, delimited with XML tags. You can say anything, delimited with triple quotes. You can say delimited with HTML tags, okay? But uh, these are the, let's say, separator, right? Delimited with tags about the same topic. First, summarize the arguments of each article, then indicate which of them makes a better argument and explain why. And here you can see the first one, the first article with these XML tags, and the second one, again, XML tags. So this is really important and really helpful for the model to, uh, to distinguish the articles in this scenario articles and your context, your additional information, or your expectation for the format, etc. Okay. And the last tactic, to be precise and to provide clear instructions, specify the desired length of the output. This is also critical. Okay. Otherwise, the models are, let's say, tend to generate a bit longer, okay, explanations. I don't know if you know the Big Bang Theory. There is a famous character, Sheldon, right? He is too smart, but if you are not really precise, he can say his answers can be too long and with too much details, right? And especially, when you have some sarcasm, the character cannot really understand it. So these models are very familiar with the Sheldon. Okay, so you need to be precise. You need to lead, into specific direction. You need to say the desired length. For example, you can say summarize the text delimited by triple quotes in 3 bullet points. You can add text here, the triple quotes. So the user's query is the text is here, and the length is 3 bullet points. Okay. Of course, this prompt is not perfect for all scenarios. Okay. This is just an example to show the tactic, like the desired length. You can say less than 100 words. Okay. 3 bullet points. I don't know, 5 sentences, and each sentence should be less than, I don't know, 25 words. You can give a clear instruction for the length of the output. And the principle, the number 4, is providing a reference text. This is also critical. Again, uh, I have a explanation from the website, OpenAI website. In the same way that a sheet of notes can help a student to better on a test, providing reference text to these models can help in answering with fewer fabrications. So in general, adding examples, adding reference text, this is always helpful for the model. Okay. Uh, so we can add a reference text. For example, use the provided articles delimited by triple quotes to answer the questions. If the answer cannot be found in the articles, right? I couldn't find an answer. Here, insert articles is delimited by triple quotes and the question and insert question here. So basically, be precise, give clear instructions, add the expected length of the output, and then also you can add example, you can give reference text. Okay, I will show you a few examples in the hands-on part. And the principle 5 is give models time to think. Of course, models, they don't think, right? And but just to conceptualize the principle, the principle is named as give models time to think. Why? So when you provide a prompt, this is a prompt, okay, like this. Models, again, they tend to rush, okay, right? And they can rush and they can try to directly go, they can try to go to the conclusion, okay? But instead of rushing, we can say that, okay, just first of all, understand the problem, think about that, then give me your final decision. But how can we do that? So in this example, the task is determine if the student's solution is correct or not. Okay. So in this prompt, you can see problem statement. Okay. Here we have the problem statement and then student solution. So for this problem, this solution is not correct. Okay. However, output of the ChatGPT is correct. Okay. So this is wrong. But saying this, instead of saying determine if the student's solution is correct or not, if we modify the prompt to give some time to think, okay, we can have something like that. First, work out your own solution to the problem. So first of all, solve this problem. Then compare your solution to the student's solution and evaluate if the student's solution is correct or not. Don't decide if the student's solution is correct until you have done the problem yourself. Okay. So with this piece of text, we are saying that first of all, solve this problem, then compare with the student solution. And now the output is correct. Okay. So actually, in the previous example, we can say output completion is not correct, but here the correct. Okay. So as you see, without changing this part, we just modified the first part and and also we didn't touch the model, right? But we just slightly changed the prompt. And then for this task, for the, let's say, assessment of the exam, right? Maybe you are a teacher and you want to use ChatGPT for this task, exam assessment. And then you need to find the best prompt iteratively. First one, not the correct one. Then you apply this principle and then, okay, that is good. Then you can use this prompt for other solutions, right? Of course, again, there is no guarantee. So you should think that these principles, you are not choosing one of them, right? You should have an holistic approach. You should consider all of the principles. And you don't have to use all of them in one prompt, let's say, one process, one prompt engineering process. But in general, we know that there's a risk, okay? But there are more techniques, there are more advanced ones. According to scenario, you can apply them. As I said, we have, tree of thought, chain of thought, for example, retrieval augmented generation. These are, and the field also, field is evolving day by day. So today we can see new technique, and 1 month later we can have two more new techniques. Okay, the field is amazing. Following the whole recent developments is not easy, but just you should know that we have some principles, techniques, and approaches to get optimal outputs. Okay, and you can use some of them, three of them, five of them together. Okay, and okay, that is the surprise. Uh, but I think we can make a break now, or so. Actually, we have only 6 questions, so the quiz will not be too long. Okay. But okay, let's make a break. Okay, let's make a break. Again, 10 minutes. And after the break, we can continue with the quiz. This is very simple. Okay, don't worry about the quiz. This is just for fun, and I prepare something informative for you. Okay, so we can make a break now, 10 minutes, then we can continue with the quiz and the hands-on session. Okay, so see you in 10 minutes. Okay, hello again, guys. You can see I shared the link in the chat, kahoot.it. Okay, so you can just click on the link and then you don't have to register. No, you just need to type the game pin. Okay, then of course you can change your avatar. Okay, so I will wait 2 minutes. Okay, if you're not familiar, just type the kahoot.it. Okay, then enter the game pin. So you can see the game pin on the screen. Okay, also in the chat. So my time, okay, 3. So I will wait until 5. Okay, so 2 minutes. I will not wait more. Okay, I don't want to lose some time. Okay, 17 participants. Good. Last 1 minute. Last 30 seconds. I will close the door. Don't worry, the questions are simple. We have only 6 questions. And the last 5 seconds. And time's up. Okay, so let's start. Prompt engineering workshop quiz. The first question is simple one. True, false. A prompt must have components as instruction, context, input, output indicator. Be careful. You have 15 seconds. A prompt must have components. 2, 1, and okay. So I hope you missed this part, this keyword. Okay, the must. So this nearly 50-50 is not a good indicator for the instructor. Okay, that means if uh, 70, 80 or more in the let's say 90% of the participants, and they are correct, this is very good for the instructor, right? But this is one of the worst scenario. But don't worry, don't forget that a prompt doesn't have to. Prompt doesn't, let's say, have to or must not. Yes, it's better to have these components, okay, to add more clarity, to be more precise, but you don't have to do that, okay? By the way, you can question the quality of the questions. This is the first prompt engineering workshop, okay? Your feedbacks will be valuable. If you think that some of the questions or other things are not really good, you can always share your feedback, okay? Okay, then let's see the podium scoreboard. Congrats, Gunyen. You are correct and fast. Don't forget that you should be also fast, okay, to get more points. Again, true, false. Be careful. Generative AI is a subset of machine learning. True or false? 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1. You need to click on one of them, okay? You need to just click one of them. No, no, I think the Clarusway should change the instructor, okay? If you go with this rates. Okay, the generative AI is not a subset of machine learning. Okay, so machine learning is subset of artificial intelligence, is that AI? Okay, but generative AI is a subset of AI. Okay, so machine learning, deep learning models are categorized as traditional AI models. Okay, we have more actually, but generative AI is different from machine learning. Don't forget that with machine learning models, we can understand the relationship between the input and the expected output. Okay, like which image is a cat, which cell is cancer for the cancer detection, which email is spam, okay, for the spam filtering. So we can understand the relationship between the input and the label. Okay, simply. But in generative AI, we can both understand this relationship and we can also generate the content, okay, in text, images, etc. So text to text, text to images, image to text. So this is not a subset of machine learning, but an AI, okay? Machine learning and the generative AI, they are subsets of AI. Of course, these, don't forget that today when we talk about any subfield of AI, this is not, let's say, there is a huge collaboration and contribution from different disciplines, okay? From statistics, from linguistics. Okay. Okay, let's check the scoreboard. Gunyan, consistent, but we have better one, Aston. Okay, now multiple choices. Okay, what is the primary goal of prompt engineering? What is the primary goal? You have 20 seconds now. Making prompts as short as can be, crafting clear and concise prompts, making prompts as long as can be, or deceiving LLMs. Select your answer. Okay. Time is up. Okay, that is good. I have still chance for the next workshops. Yeah, also the question is simple, but at least I'm very happy because there's no one in this part. Sometimes people can think that optimizing is like minimizing the cost or no, but no, the we don't care about the short or long, but we want to have right, clear and precise, prompts. Okay, and long is not good long or short. No, this is not the criteria. Okay, you can have very bad, complex, full of ambiguity with long. Okay, but no, crafting clear and concise prompts. Okay, thank you guys. Let's check the scoreboard. Okay, it seems that also the question is simple. Now a bit more tricky, but not hard. Which one is incorrect? Okay, incorrect about prompt engineering. Yeah. Prompt engineering is a new technique of machine learning. Principles include clarity. Prompting is considered as an iterative process. Which one is incorrect? Yeah, not bad. Prompt engineering is not a new technique of machine learning. We don't have prompt in the machine learning. Okay, don't forget that the input output relationship and the structure is different in machine learning, and we don't have a chance to change the output by changing the input of the machine learning models. Okay, that's another story, but prompt engineering is about generative AI models, large language models. Okay, and they should be clear, yes, concise, clarity. Yes, it's very important. Okay, clarity is they should be clear, and prompting is considered as iterative process. Yes, don't forget that that is an iterative process. You will try, and then you will find optimal prompt, okay, for your scenario. According to the complexity of the problem and the scenario, of course, the length of the process can be different, but this is an iterative process. Okay. Okay, let's see the scoreboard. We have now new AA and Menon. Congrats. And last two questions. Okay. So which term refers input or fact conflicting content that is generated by LLMs? Okay. Which term refers incorrect, irrelevant output of the LLM? We can think that. Last 10 seconds. 2, 1. Yeah. First of all, I didn't say anything about confusion matrix or phishing, right? So confusion matrix is a very important in machine learning, and it is not related. It's no connection with these LLMs. Okay, forget about confusion matrix in this context. LLM phishing. There is no LLM phishing. Okay, there is no such thing. No wrong input. No, we are talking about generated content, so that should be output, right? And in the context of LLM, if the completion, if the, let's say the output, the generation of the LLM is not real, irrelevant, that is hallucination. Okay, that is a one problem of LLMs. They can hallucinate. Okay, and we can apply some techniques, prompt engineering techniques. Also, not only in the prompt engineering part, but also we can change the configuration of the model. We can add some, there is a very popular technique like reinforcement learning by human feedback. So we can uh, enhance, let's say, the model against hallucination or against, again, harmful, toxic outputs. So the hallucination is the correct word. Okay, the last question is the most important question of the workshop. Okay, and I hope I will see more correct answers. And yeah, let's see. First of all, let's see the scoreboard, then we will see the last question. Intezar, congrats. Gunyan, yes, you are consistent. And the last question, and let's say a bit tricky. Okay, so multiple selection. Okay, select recommended prompt engineering principles. So we have 1 minute. Okay, don't worry about the time, but select the recommended prompt engineering principles. No, you can select more than one. Okay, option. Actually, you should select more than one. Which ones are prompt engineering principles? And think the answers like prompt should be precise and provide clear instructions. Or the prompt, in the prompt, we should provide reference for example text. We should use complex terms. We should keep it short as possible, etc. You got the point. So which ones are the prompt engineering principles? Last 7, 6, 5. Okay, good. I think the most important message of this workshop, I think it's very clear, right? Reduce the ambiguity in your prompts, right? And secondly, yes, providing a reference or example is really helpful, it's important, okay? And uh, yeah, we shouldn't use complex terms, right? We should, let's say, reduce the complexity of the prompt. Again, no, keep it as short as no. Don't care, yeah, don't focus, or let's say, don't think about the length of the prompt, okay? Uh, the length of the prompt, the number of words in the, let's say, in the terminology of the LLMs, let's say, number of tokens, they can be important for the cost, but that's another story, okay? When you are using, for example, ChatGPT, the free version, right, number of tokens doesn't affect you because it's completely free, but which when you are using API, for example, there will be a cost, okay, for each token. So therefore, you can consider token optimization, but that's another story, okay? Uh, because the the first objective is having more accurate, more relevant outputs, okay? But if you think that for example, the outputs are too long, then you can restrict, you can limit them, okay, with prompt engineering or with other techniques. But that's another story. So don't focus on the length, okay? But yeah, start simple is important, okay? Uh, Instead of providing a complex task, we can start simple and step by step. We can explain the task and then models output will be better. And the last one, this is also very important. Again, to maybe, I don't know, that can be a bit tricky because in the slides, the principle was be precise and provide clear instructions, and they specify the desired length of the form or format was the tactic to be more to be precise. I don't know if you consider this, but in general, specify the desired length or specify the desired format. If you don't want to see explanations, or if you just want to have 3 sentences, 3 bullet points, just specify it. Okay. Okay, let's see the winner, the podium. Chess, congrats. Intisar, congrats. Intisar was our students in data science bootcamp. And Gunyan, congrats. Congrats, everybody. I hope this is an informative, no, Kahoot for you. Unfortunately, we couldn't make very interactive. Maybe we can also think about this, but at least with this Kahoot, you touched and it's a bit more interactive. Okay, now let's go with the presentation. And before going to the presentation, I want to show the Hugging Face. Okay, if you are interested in open source models, let me just call this one. If you are interested in open source models, you can check the Hugging Face. In the Hugging Face, it's another story, but in the models, you can see different type of models: multimodality, computer vision, NLP part, natural language processing, and you can directly search, the models. For example, you can search Llama, one of the open source models. Okay. You can find a lot of ones here. Llama 2 with 7 billion parameters, or with 70 billion fine-tuned versions of Llama, or Mistral. Okay. These are the one of the, let's say, some of the popular models. And also this is quite, according to your task, you can, filter the language. You can say, I want to use a model in Spanish. Okay. You can check the fine-tuned versions of them. These are not, they are not all large language models. Okay. There are some, let's say, pre-trained language models with millions of parameters, but also you can find, let's say, some open source LLMs. Of course, uh, with your CPU, you cannot, let's say, train or fine-tune the open source models. Okay, so you need some computational power, and the computational power with graphical processing units with GPUs. This is necessary to let's say fine tune. There are some very small models, for example, Phi, with only 2 billion parameters. Okay, it's really small, but still, your CPU will not be enough. Okay, but if you're interested in, you can just play with this Hugging Face. Okay, we completed this Kahoot part, and the last part, ChatGPT in action. According to poll, 94% of the participants, used ChatGPT. Therefore, I will not, let's say, show the simple or login registration part of the ChatGPT. So let's, if you don't know the link and the URL, if you didn't use it, you can just use this one. Okay. And then you need to use your email to register. Just any other, web applications, you can use your email. Then you will get some notification to verify your email. Then you can use the email with your password to log in. Okay. And they are continuously updating the application. You know, they are adding some services, some functions. They are changing also the colors, the backgrounds. Okay, so I added this screenshot, I think maybe 1 week ago or 10 days ago, and they changed just the theme, default theme settings. But even though they are changing day by day, the core functionality is the same, so it's not problem. Okay, let me show the website. Okay, I already log in here. You can just change the theme here, a light or dark. In You can delete all chats. Okay, in the settings, you can check the settings part for the data control. You can, enable or disable the chat history. If you just make it disable, you will not have the previous history. Okay, but you can enable here, or you can use settings, data controls, and enable. Okay, so I will use enabled. Okay, but if you want to check the, let's say, privacy policy, the other things about the data storage, you can check this part. Okay. They also added customized ChatGPT. For example, I think a few days ago the name was different, like custom instructions. They just changed the name maybe a few days ago. The customized ChatGPT. Okay. If you click here, you can see uh, instead of adding some instructions or some context in your prompt, you can add some additional information here. Okay. And the first part is like, what would you like ChatGPT to know about you, to provide better responses? Like you can say that, for example, uh, I am, let's say, studying machine learning. Okay. I'm using Python. You can add this type of keywords like machine learning, Python. I'm doing some data analysis, data visualization. You can add these keywords. And for example, if you don't want to see the explanations, but just the code blocks, again, you can also add here. You can say, just, just show me, just give me the code. Don't explain it, or I don't know. you can say that uh, outputs should be less than 100 words, 50 words. Okay, you can add this type of information here. And when you, I will show one example, but later we have some common use cases. But here, uh, when you save, okay, when you add something, you can save it. And if uh, that button is enable for new chats, that means no. Let me cancel it. When you have new chat, that customize instructions will be valid for all. Okay, so if you don't want to use that custom instructions for the next new chats, you should disable that part. Okay, so let's start with the ChatGPT part. Okay, then we have 7 use cases, common use cases. The first one is simple. Okay, the grammar correction or say language polishing, enhancing, using formal and kind language. Okay. Uh, by the way, you can, if you have a chance, you can do the same. Okay, you can try to use the principles in these use cases. Okay. So let's assume that I want to use this ChatGPT to correct my language. Okay, I don't want to care about the grammatical mistakes, no misspellings, etc. And also, I can say that can you just sorry, cor correct and polish this, right? And then I can add my input. I want to say, yeah, I'm just making up, okay? Your requirements are not clear, okay? And uh, I'm not sure about uh, the flexible hours. Uh, it should be, let's say, make some mistake, should be, okay, more clear to eliminate, you know, my concerns. Also, second part of the report has, I don't know, ambiguity, which um, yeah, which confuses me a lot. Okay, as you see here, I didn't care about the, prompt engineering principles. I just said that, can you correct and polish this? And I added some, you know, uh, like let's say and informal text with some mistakes without saying, sorry, uh, the output is not bad, right? I'm inclined to agree, but your requirements like clarity, particularly blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so this output is not bad. So day by day, they are, let's say, enhancing the model. Okay. Therefore, even though, so also this is a simple task, but instead of this prompt, what can we say? So how can we apply the prompt engineering principles and let's say have a better output? This is not a bad, but I want to see more, let's say, kind and formal language. So if I want to see the kind and formal language and more, let's say, formal language, then I should clearly specify it, right? So then I can say, please refine and rephrase the statement delimited, right? We should specify this delimited by triple quotes using formal English and kind language, right? Then I can add triple quotes here and I can use the same. Yeah. Then I appreciate the opportunity and I'm considering acceptance. However, I find the current specifications unclear, particularly regarding the flexible hours. It will be great aid. Yeah. So we can it is a bit more kind, right? Formal language. But of course, in this scenario, the task is simple, and also maybe we should change the input to see the difference more. But I just instead of saying, "Can you correct and polish?" This is there's ambiguity here. So polish in which direction? You can say that. Please refine and rephrase the statement, delimited by triple quotes. Use formal language and kind language. Okay, so it's more clear and precise. Okay, so that is very simple, common use case. And also, even though you have some problems, some grammatical errors, the output will be, let's say, grammatically correct. Okay, if you don't also specify that, if you say that, give me grammatically wrong sentences, okay, the default output, default completion of the ChatGPT will be grammatically correct. Okay, then you can, if you like it, you can just copy, right, with this button, and you can use it. So that is a very simple one. The second use case, language translation. Okay, again, the language translation is quite frequent. Okay, the most common languages on the internet is of course English, and according to surveys, more than 50 percent of the websites they used English. We have some other common languages, but very important survey about this translation is for the global consumers. Okay, according to CSA research, this research just carried out across 29 countries in Europe, Asia, North America, etc. And according to this survey, 60% of the global consumers, okay, they prefer the purchasing the products uh, with their native language. So, in other words, when the information is in their native language, they prefer more. Okay, even though they are global consumers. Therefore, no, you can just you can have some customers, right? Some customers, and maybe their native language is not English, so you can consider this. Uh, you know, Again, nearly 90% of the translations they are from or into English. Okay, so and this is quite common. What can we do? Let me come here. New chat. As you see here, my previous chat is here, right, in the history part. And I have a, Spanish, let's say, Spanish text. Okay, I prepared this one. And yeah, we can just say, translate this into English, right? Then I can give a text. Let me copy the text. Okay. Estoy interesado en sus productos, especialmente las últimas versiones. I don't speak Spanish, but I choose Spanish because you can directly read it, right? Therefore, I didn't choose French. But anyway, you can see a Spanish text here, and just the prompt is translate this into English. Okay. Yeah. The translation is also, I checked this translation before with the Google Translate. So I'm interested in your products, interesado en sus productos, especially in the latest versions. Could you please send a detailed email regarding purchasing options? I'm considering a minimum order of 1,000 pieces of each type. So it's a custom, and this is a scenario. In this scenario, you have a customer, and the customer speaks Spanish, and he or she sent a message to you, and then you can use the ChatGPT, right? But maybe you have a long text, okay, but you don't want to only translate it, but you want to maybe summarize it, okay. So let me show you another example. Also, I will use translation in there, and of course, translate this into English is clear, right? And you don't have to add something more to make it more complex or longer, okay. If this is good for you, if this is enough, then okay. But I will show another scenario. So text summarization and language translation together. So maybe you are reading some books, okay, and you like, I don't know, Jean-Paul Sartre, for example, okay, and in this book you are trying to learn, I don't know, maybe you are also studying French, okay, but you have a one piece of text. This is quite hard, and you want to translate and summarize at the same time. Okay, so how can you do that? Uh, Again, simply we can say translate this, right? Just this one. And I can give a text here. I already prepared this text, so not to lose some time. So that is a piece of text in French from Jean-Paul Sartre's book. Okay, yeah. You can also check with, if you know French, you can check the translation. If you don't know, you can check the Google Translate. The translations are really good. But what if I want to summarize and translate at the same time? Okay. Maybe we can simply say, can you translate the text delimited by triple quotes, right? From a well-known French, let's say, philosopher, okay, uh, let's say Jean-Paul Sartre, okay, in into English, right? Use we can also create prompt like this one, right? So I want to show that I added this information to my prompt, but the output is same, right? So for this simple task, even this prompt can be enough. So I don't have to have all components, right? But when the tasks are getting complex, uh, I usually, I need to apply some techniques and principles here. And for example, you use this one, and if the output is not good for you, then you can consider, step by step, iteratively, you can enhance this prompt. Okay, you can add uh, some keywords. You can lead, the output of the output into specific direction. If the English is not, good for you, if it's a bit complex, you can say that, you know, uh, explain this as if I am high school student, right? You can say something like that. Yeah, and no, instead of using more, let's say, advanced words, it can be something like that, a simple explanation. Or maybe not this book, but you are reading papers, academic papers about large language models. One of the most famous one, a survey of large language models. And or let's assume that there are, you want to read 10 different articles. You want to select three of these three articles from this 10. Okay, you just want to check their abstract. Okay, but you can copy the abstract and you can summarize this abstract. Okay, how can you do that? We can say, so let's create a prompt together. Okay, again, can you explain, right, the abstract? So I am saying that this is an abstract. Or can you explain the abstract of the academic paper about LLMs? Okay, so I'm adding more keywords. These will enhance the quality of the output. Okay, again, uh, delimited by, okay, triple quotes, or I can say uh, abstract text. Okay, and I can say, let's say, as simple as possible. Okay, and here abstract tag. Okay, and just copy paste this one. Yeah, I just copy paste. Don't worry about this empty parts, spaces. Yeah, I can say something like that. Okay, so imagine you are trying to teach a computer to understand, use like, so this is not really a good summary, right? It's even, this is just, if you think here, this is not really good summary, right? I want to have something shorter, then I should specify it. Okay, I should specify this in the prompt. Okay, I can say, and don't forget that we have a chance to use the conversation history. Okay, therefore, instead of creating a full prompt, I can say make it shorter. Okay, but if I say make it shorter, it will be not very clear, right? Then instead of make it shorter, I can say, let's say, explain this in only 2 sentences. Yeah, yeah, I can say into only 2 sentences. Right? Then this paper discusses the recent advancement in LLMs, which are super smart, blah, blah, blah. It covers how these models are trained, used, blah, blah. So if that is enough, okay. If you just want to check if the scope is in your, target, say you want to check the LLMs, you want to check survey papers, okay. If that is enough for you, then okay, right? So iteratively, you can find your best output. Then after finding this, let's say, if this output is okay for you, then you should add this part into the prompt, okay? Because in the next round, when you use the same prompt for the another paper, no, we don't want to lose time, right? So we can add here, okay, can you explain the abstract of the academic paper, blah, 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 as instead of as simple as, sorry, in addition to as simple as possible, we can say in 2 sentences, right? So then we can save these prompts, okay? And for the periodic tasks, we can use these prompts. So I'm using, for example, a Notion application, okay, to store my prompts. And for example, if you are using ChatGPT to, just summarize the papers, okay, and you can save. Oh, by the way, let me show you something here. If you want to use this, let's say, this conversation later, you can, for example, rename, and you can say that, uh, let's say, text summarization prompt. Okay, then you can, store these parts, and when you need, you can come here. Or I don't want to store all of the prompts here. Okay, I'm using another application to store my prompts. And when I need something like replying email, or summarizing the abstract, you can just check your source, for example, Notion, or I don't know if you're using OneNote or other applications, you can check that and you can use this prompt. Okay. Okay. The other use case, content generation. So content generation is quite broad, right? You can generate different contents for different reasons. For example, you can generate social media posts, you can write email newsletters, you can write a blog for your website. You can write product descriptions. If you are an HR expert, maybe you need to generate job job descriptions on LinkedIn, right? So for this type of tasks, you can use content generation. In this scenario, I picked a website, a blog post for website. Let's assume that I want to write a blog post for my website, and the blog should be about soft skills in data science. Okay, I want to write some blogs, and the title, or the let's say, yeah, the title or the scope will be soft skills in data science. Okay, and I want to have specific keywords, so I need to let's say restrict the topic. Okay, then let me show this part. So new chat. Uh, yeah, we can say I want to write a blog post for my website. Okay, and the blog should be about soft skills in data science. Okay, and these keywords should be included. Let's say communication, presentation, and planning and research. Okay, so can you give me a draft? And I want to specify the length, and I can say it should not be longer than, I don't know, uh, yeah, 500 words. Okay, that is my prompt. And don't forget that that's an iterative process. It provides me a draft, a title, the crucial soft skills, blah, 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 introduction. Then for each keyword, added paragraphs, and in conclusion, blah, blah, and it is less than 500 words. Good, but I didn't like, let's say, the title. Then I can say just change the title. Yeah, elevating data science, the power of soft skills. If you like this one, you can use this title and this text, and this is for my blog, for my website, right? If you have a website, you will know that the search engine optimization is very important. And for the search engine optimization, you need to add the keywords, the metadata. Okay, then I can say list the keywords and create a metadata. Okay, I don't want to say metadata for my website because from the context, the ChatGPT can capture it. And as you see here, keywords, data science, soft skills, communication, blah, blah, and metadata, uh, elevating data science, the title, the description. I can say enhance the keywords. Okay, and then I can uh, eh, data science, soft skills, communication skills instead of communication. If you like it, then you can use this output. Okay, of course, using ChatGPT to generate a text Uh, for your website is another story. Okay. So I think you should be transparent about the AI generated text. For example, you can even use ChatGPT to write academic articles, and the journals, the conferences, they accept the AI generated text, but you should clearly state that you used a ChatGPT or I don't know, Copilot to I don't know to polish to correct the language of this article. Okay, so no problem, you can use it, but you should be transparent. Okay, so the other one, posting in social media. Let's think that you are very active in LinkedIn. You are using LinkedIn, continuously. In each Monday, you are posting something. So that is a process, right? You want to reduce let's say, you want to be more productive. So it's some time consuming, and you can use ChatGPT to write your LinkedIn posts, right? So how can we do that? Uh, I can say I want to, as you see, I'm not saying this is instruction, this is context, but as a frame, I can use, I can give the instruction, clearly, precisely. I can add some context, or, I can, the context can be like a role, give me response, act as an English teacher, right? These are also, they can be considered as context or role, okay? But the point is we are adding these keywords which are relevant for this, let's say, for our use case, for our scenario, and we want to we want to guide the LLM into certain direction. That direction, of course, we want to have relevant and more accurate answers. Okay, so I want to write a LinkedIn post, not only just social media, but I'm giving the name of the social media platform about my recent observation on LLMs. Use my input delimited by post tags. Okay. Correct if the language uh, yeah has grammatical mistakes, and return a post which is I'm specifying the length. Okay. No, for the LinkedIn, of course, shorter post. We don't have to. We should have some maybe a bit short, right? So no longer than 150 words, and the post is while working with LLMs. Okay, I am experiencing mm, a few issues. I don't know. One is that uh, LLMs are not confident, uh, yeah, on their responses when I insist, when I insist, they can easily change their outputs. Okay. And the second one is, this is interesting, and this is real scenario. Okay. The social engineering techniques are successful uh, while prompting to obtain harmful, or is it toxic, or yeah, toxic outputs. Okay. So yeah, and Yeah, the output is while working with LLMs, I observed some notable challenges. So it is enhancing my language, right? If there are some mistakes, it's correcting, but still it's not good. Oh, by the way, in ChatGPT added some hashtags, right? Because in LinkedIn, these are helpful, but I didn't like it, and I can say that highlight my message with bullet points and emojis. Here, as you see, now it's better, it's more, like LinkedIn post, emojis, and bullet points. And the point LLMs often lack confidence in their responses. This is the first issue. Social engineering techniques prove effective. Yeah. And this is the second issue, right? And it added some hashtags, and I can say add more hashtags. Yeah. Responsible AI, which is very important topic. Machine learning, not I think this is not very good, but ethical AI, yes. AI, LLMs, AI ethics, yeah, they are good hashtags, right? So I can use this ChatGPT for LinkedIn post, social media post. One of the another most frequent use cases is writing or replying an email, right? In our uh, daily works, we need to reply some emails, and this is a bit again time consuming, and we can use ChatGPT. So I have an interesting scenario for you. I prepared this one. So let me copy, and then I will read. Okay. So the scenario is I need to compose a diplomatic yet assertive email addressed to my boss, okay, regarding her communication style. My boss frequently sends last-minute emails that lack clarity, and yeah, that leads in efficiencies and misunderstandings with our team. So these messages demotivate me, distract my focus. I aim to respectfully address this issue with my boss, emphasizing the importance of clear and timely communication, blah, blah, blah. And then the question is, can you please assist me in drafting a well-worded email that effectively communicates these concerns while maintaining the professional tone? So I want to be kind, but I want to warn my boss. And I can directly, explicitly share my feelings and the thoughts with ChatGPT, not my boss, or not with my customer, right? But I can say that please use a professional tone, a kind language, but also, let's say, exhibit my concern, etc. Then, yeah, the subject, the email format, so dear blah blah. I hope these emails find you well. That is the default starting, right? Firstly, I want to express my appreciation for your leadership and efforts. I think this is not necessary, right? So the email is too long, right? I don't like this email. I can say make it shorter. I don't want to specify the number of sentences, but make it shorter. Then iteratively, I will evaluate it. Okay, now it's more readable. I hope you are doing well. I want to discuss communication. There have been instances of last-minute emails lacking clarity, which has caused confusion, blah, blah. As you see, now it's shorter and more formal and kind, right? And clear and timely communication is crucial for our team success. So you are, highlighting, you are not criticizing the personal issue, but you are highlighting the principles, right? The communication style, the method. And I suggest reviewing our communication practices to ensure clarity, the timeline, blah, blah. That's also good. And I committed supporting you and our team would appreciate the opportunity to discuss this further. The question can be, these are not, uh, let's say natural, right? You can say make it more natural, or you can clearly state just remove this part, remove the second sentence, remove the last paragraph. You can also modify it like this, okay? Or you can say make it more natural, and you can check it. Of course, uh, it depends on your company, let's say culture. Uh, you can use the, let's say, the optimal one in your scenario. Okay. And the last use case is code generation. I also want to like this one. I want to show this one. This is very important. And especially for the beginners, these applications can be very helpful, but always remember that for the production, for the deployment, there should be a verification, a testing step after this code generation. Okay. So let me show you one example. And now I want to use also the customized ChatGPT. Okay. Or let's first of all, let's do it without customize. Then we can use it. Okay. Uh, okay. The prompt is how to load a CSV file. Okay. In Jupyter Notebook. So I want to load a CSV file, and then as you see here, the output is quite long, some explanations, even importing. No, and that is not what I want. Okay, I want to have maybe shorter, just the code. Okay, and I don't want to say in my prompt because I want to use customize. Okay, then I can let me show another example. Customize ChatGPT. Okay, I am studying mm, Python data analysis. Okay, you can say just show me the code without explaining. Okay, you just want to see the code. Save it. Then again, the same question: how to load a CSV file in Jupyter Notebook. As you see, if you look at the previous one, we have explanations, longer, sometimes even installing, how can you install, how can you do the press steps, but no, I just want to see the code, okay? And then I use the customize ChatGPT. I clearly say that just show me the code without explaining, and then I don't need to add this context, this additional information into my prompts here, okay? And not only this type of simple task, how can you load file, CSV file, you can use pandas, this command, and you can display it. So this is a simple code, okay? But you can also ask a bit more complex one, like I have 3 columns in my data frame, okay? And only, or let's simplify it, one of them, okay, has missing values. That means I have a table and some of the cells are empty, okay? And I want to create a new data frame, okay, that has rows which have missing values. Okay, let's see how it's clear. Yeah, so I want to create the new data frame, okay? If you are not familiar with Python, don't worry. Python is the most human readable language. Basically, I know the code. Okay, I can assure that the outputs are correct. But we can ask, general questions. Uh, for example, I can say I have an imbalanced data set, okay, and minority is 5%. What should I do while training the machine, let's say random forest model? Okay, so if the model is random forest, instead of saying machine learning model, you should specify the name of the model, right? And instead of saying just imbalanced data set, uh, you know, you should add this type of details, and then let's check the output. Yeah, it will add sampling strategy. Yeah, there are different strategies. This is one of them. Okay, and so the key point is add these details. Okay, if they are important, and otherwise, if you don't say the random forest, for example, if you don't say add these details, it will try to generate the let's say default or most expected ones. Okay, if let's say the most common machine learning classifier is logistic regression, you will probably see logistic regression here. Okay, but let's assume that the model is determined, you will use random forest in the whole project. Then you can come to customize ChatGPT and you can add this information. Okay, or you can say uh, you use always random forest as a machine learning model. Okay, you can add this information here. Uh, okay, let's save it. Yeah, I think you got the point. So this is very helpful. You can even say, create a website for my CV. Okay, with uh, with three tab menus. Okay, uh, as about me, about projects, contact. So this is quite there is an ambiguity here, right? And here you can see it decided to use Flask because still this part is using your uh, customer ChatGPT and that information, Python information. And in Python, we have Flask, Django, etc. So because of the custom instruction, uh, it generates this part. Okay, Flask. But let's just uh, disable this, save, and then new chat, and how to create a website for my portfolio. And let's ask this one. As you see here, instead of provide, of course, I didn't use the same uh, prompt, but now it gives me an explanation. Can you give me a piece of code for my website? Yeah, and as default, the most expected one is HTML and CSS. Okay, so if you don't specify clearly, the language, the environment, the platform, it will give you the most expected ones. Okay, HTML and the CSS code blocks. Okay, so I think that's enough. And let me check the time. Oh, we already passed the time, so let me just explain a few things. So we don't have only ChatGPT, we have also Google Bard and actually now Google Gemini. Okay, and also we have still a problem. So there is no guarantee for the no uh, correct outputs. They can generate some, they can generate incorrect, so they can generate hallucination. Okay, and in this example, we asked Google Gemini, sorry, Google Bart, if you want the text to be in different colors in the response given by PALM2 models, which hyperparameters should be used? Actually, there is no such hyperparameter in PALM2. Uh, in with different prompts, you can see that this Google Bart can generate some hallucination. Okay, we asked the same question to ChatGPT. Of course, this is not a extensive, comprehensive test. Okay, just I want to say that we don't have only ChatGPT. We have other models, but for the moment, ChatGPT is the best one. Okay, comparing to the others, and this is just the beginning. Okay, so this part is just a first step of the whole prompt engineering world. We have more techniques, a chain of thought, self-consistency, tree of thought, retrieval augmented generation, and also we have, for example, some hyperparameters. I said that we have temperature, top P, so you can control the creativity of the model. Okay, you can touch, you can configure the model. Of course, the configuring of the model is not possible with ChatGPT UI. Okay, you need to use Playground or you need to use API. Okay, in the API or in the Playground, you can change the temperature, you can change the hyperparameter to, let's say, change uh, uh, the creativity of the model, okay, for example. And of course, very important one, self-check mechanisms. Okay, if you want to use your prompt in the application or I don't know, in different scenarios, if you see potential problems, you need to add self-check mechanisms. Like you can say that if you don't find one of the, if you don't find an answer related with blah blah blah, say that I couldn't find an answer. Please provide me more details. Okay, you can add something like that. So instead of generating an answer, no, or hallucination, you can prevent this and you can lead the models into this direction. Prompt testing, of course, another issue. You need to test, especially when you are developing applications. Other aspects, again, token optimization, ethics, responsible AI is another story, very important. Okay, today GPT-4 is really good. They really solved common problems like gender discrimination, race discrimination, some harmful, toxic outputs. It's very hard to deceive, let's say, manipulate the ChatGPT, especially GPT-4 now. But in the first versions, you can manipulate the models to obtain some harmful outputs, like how can I, create a chemical bomb, etc. This type of questions. Don't forget that hallucination is still there. How can we solve the hallucination problems or other problems, especially when you have more complex problems and scenarios? You need to apply some advanced techniques. So, sorry. With our advanced prompt engineering course, we will see this advanced prompting, some techniques like chain of thought, retrieval, augmented generation, or we will use also ChatGPT Plus. The no with pre version you cannot. Here we can use 3.5, but if you want to use GPT-4, you need to upgrade and you need to pay. This is not free, okay? And by the way, GPT-4 Uh, in simple tasks, still you can use GPT 3.5. GPT-4 is not fast or fastest, okay? But the more accurate and reliable outputs with GPT-4. But if the task is simple and if the speed is important, you can still go with 3.5, okay? In the API, we have more options. We have 3.5 Turbo. We have different models like DaVinci, Ada, etc. with the API. But with the ChatGPT UI, we have two options. Okay. And in our advanced prompt engineering, we will use the uh, Plus Playground, and also Gemini Playground. Okay. So to solve this problem, yeah, we can, yeah, we need to use some advanced techniques. In the QA part, in the chat, you can write, what did you learn about this prompt engineering, and in this workshop in one sentence, no longer than 30 words, without using ChatGPT and in Zoom. Okay, so like a prompt, I tried to provide you clear instruction. Okay, if you can write, it will be good for us. Also, don't forget that this is our first workshop, and I know that I passed the time more than 3 hours, but just share your feedbacks. Okay, if you see some problems, some things to be improved, it will be very good for us. We will be very grateful. Okay, thank you very much for your patience, for your attention. Also, Johnson, thank you very much. You, you know, you answered 34 questions during this session. For the pricing part, no, uh, you can see you have free version and the plus. So you can see the price monthly for this is for teams, not for the individuals. So we will use this one. Okay. And also API prices are completely different. It is per tokens, and for each module, input and output prices are different. Okay, so that's another story. Let me check the questions. And thank you. You're welcome. And Juan, start simple. Yes. And the question from Vikas, in these different GenAI vendors, is there any way to enforce these corrections? And yeah. Yeah, thank you. Okay, I think that's enough. We already passed no 3 hours, 3 hours, 20 minutes. So I think Celine, we can close the workshop, and if there will be any questions, we will be here to answer. Okay, you can ask your questions.
Yes, thank you, Alan.
Okay.
That was
Yeah,
very beneficial. Thank you so much.
thank you.